Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the chain and sprockets on our 2007 Suzuki GSX-R 1000R. Not that tough to do, just need to get the old chain cut, the new sprockets bolted down, and then I'll show you how to stake the new chain on. So let's go take a look at the parts and the tools you're going to need to pull this off. Welcome to the tool table. This is going to be a skill level 2. Now let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need to pull this off. On the socket side, a couple of large ones. You're going to need to run down a 32 and a 36 millimeter. You're going to need a 6 millimeter Allen, as always a good 3/8 ratchet, a 10 and a 12 wrench, and as always a good torque wrench. Now on the specialty side, you're really going to need to pick up what they call the jumbo size chain maker and breaker from Motion Pro. They make one that's smaller, but I don't think it can handle the size chain that we're going to have to deal with on this machine. Other thing that you're going to need is a decent caliper, because you're going to need to get exact measurements when we go to flare those rivets on your chain. Now, as far as the parts go, if you would, reference our exploded parts diagrams. That's going to give you the part numbers if you want to order the chain pieces and the gears individually. Although, what I decided to go with was a complete kit from Suzuki, which has everything that I'm going to need, factory OEM. Which chain you want to go with is up to you. But me, I'm going to go with OEM because I believe in them. So, once you've got your tools and your parts together, we can go over there and I can show you how to do it. So let's go. So, when do you need to replace your chain and sprockets? Well, there's two good indicators. One, if the teeth of yours look like they're a crashing wave going toward the front of the bike, and or you've got an adjustment that's completely run out, well, those are your two indicators to go ahead and replace them. And when you do this, you want to do this as a set. Go ahead and get the front and rear sprocket along with the chain, all new. The last thing you want to do is put a new chain on old sprockets. It just won't last. So, step one, we need to get this chain taken off. And there's a couple of different ways we can do this. One, we can use this really nice tool from Motion Pro and actually drive the pins all the way off. Or we can do it the fun way and just use a cut-off wheel and we just grind off where the ends were flared before on that particular master link. I'm going to go for the grinding method. All we have to do here is just grind it down even with the plate. Then I can use a punch tool or a chisel tool and knock that outer plate off. Now we just need to knock it out the back. All right, chain is off. All right, next let's get off that rear tire. And that is a 36 millimeter socket. Lift up on it a little bit, make it easier to pull through. Just ride it back. Now the caliper is just sitting in a groove, so it'll just pull out. And we're just going to lay it out to the side. Now with that out of the way, we need to remove the shifter arm and get this cover off so we can remove the front sprocket. Let's mark the end of the shifter right here so we know where to put that pivot point back on. All right, I don't want to disconnect all this, so I'm going to get a bit of wire or something to hold this up and out of the way. All right, before we get the sprocket bolt off, let's go ahead and get the speed sensor rotor bolt off the end. Next, we need to go for that main output shaft bolt. All right, now we can take off our sprocket. Get our new front sprocket on, and we're not going to tighten it down until we get the chain on, because we'll need to use a torque wrench to do that, and I don't want to stress the transmission. Now, let's go ahead and get the rear sprocket off. Here's our new rear sprocket. You just want to make sure that beveled edge is facing out. We're going to run them down just with a regular ratchet and then tighten them to 44 foot-pounds. Make our lives a little bit easier, let's spread open the brake pads, pushing the piston back into the caliper. Now, Let's remount the tire and then we can get that chain on. Let's see if we can slide that axle through. What we need to do is rotate the axle to where this flat section goes toward the front. Get our adjuster on this side and just put on the axle bolt hand tight just to hold it together. We got our front sprocket on. Remember that bolt is just hand tight for the time being. We've got the rear wheel on. It's pushed all the way forward. Let's grab our chain and feed it through. And I'm being a little OCD. I like it when the chain's actually in position to where you can read the DID going from left to right. Now, go ahead and put it in our master link. It's got these 4 O-rings. You're going to have 2 on one side and then 2 on the other. We're going to take our other 2 O-rings, go ahead and lay them in place. Now, we're going to do the outer plate, and you notice how it has DID on that facing outside. And we don't want to just get our tool and just cram it on there, because what will happen if you go too far, you'll compress your O-rings too much, and that'll cause a kink in the chain, and that's something we don't want. So what we're going to do is use a caliper as we're tightening it down, checking it every so often, because basically we want this distance here to be the same as the distance right there. And that distance is going to be in between 21.1 and 21.3. See, there's 21.2, so it's right in the middle. So that's where we want to get it, or as close as we can. All right, we're setting up our tool. We're taking out the push pin and the driver for that, and we're using this plate here, and it's actually going to be the one that pushes the plate on. So make sure we're lined up. You want to take your time doing this, because once you go in, you're not going to be able to pull it back if you go too far. But you can look at where this is lining up with the one above it. I can tell that I'm not quite there yet. All right, let's pull it out and take a look and see where we are. 21.17, so I am on it. One more turn and I would have been in trouble. Now, what we need to do is use the staking point for this tool, and we want to flare it out to in between 5.5 and 5.8 millimeters. And just to give you an idea how small that is, right now they're at 5.1. We're not talking about a big distance, because that's where it is, and that's where it needs to be. Give you an idea how much we're going to flare it. That's 5.59. See how much it's moving? That's how much we're going to end up flaring it, so it's not a lot. Now, to set up the tool, you take out that press plate that we had, then you take out the center section, and we're going to replace it with the flaring tool. Back it up. And on the opposite side, you want to use this cup tool to go right there, because we're going to end up flaring one at a time. Now, take just a little dab of grease and put it where it's going to make contact with the master link. Put in our tool, and we're going to turn it a few times and flare it. That's almost 3/4 of a turn. Let's stop and see where we are. 5.45, so we're close. We need just a little bit more. What I'm going to aim for is 5.6, and that'll put us in the middle of the range. Let's see where that got us. 5.62. So we got it. Let's do the other one. Let's see what we've got. 5.66. Nailed that one pretty much straight out of the box. All right, now the hard part's over. Only thing we need to do now is put a little tension on the chain. I'm going to have somebody hold the brakes, and then we're going to go ahead and torque down this output shaft bolt. And we're going to take this bolt to 72.5 foot-pounds. There it is. Now we can go ahead and put our speed sensor rotor back in. And just for my peace of mind, I'm going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on the end of it. Right, and this one actually wants 18 foot-pounds. There we go. Since we're basically done with the front sprocket, let's go ahead and get that cover back on. All right, and we started with this bolt. We went counterclockwise. Let's get our shifter back in place. There we go. That should do. All right, last, let's get this chain adjusted. And what we're looking for is about an inch movement here, top to bottom. The other thing we want to keep in mind is the number of tick marks that you see at the back needs to be equal from one side to the other. So let's start bringing this one back. And this is a new chain, so if we're a little on the tight side, it's okay because it's going to stretch very quickly. All right, right now we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks. So let's see what we have on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's bring this back. All right, that's right at 5. All right, that's a little too tight, but let's go ahead and bump it to make sure it's pulled all the way forward. That's still a tick too much, so let's back this off. Do the same number of turns over here. Let's bring her up again. All right, that's looking a little bit better. Let's rotate her around a couple of turns. Bump it one more time. Now let's see what we've got. I think that's going to be it. Now here's the real trick. What we need to do now is set this to 72.5 foot-pounds, but while we're tightening it, I want to leave this block in here and keep a little bit of tension on the tire to where it's staying pulled forward. Because invariably, when you tighten these down, they seem to take away some of the slack. There it is. All right, a couple more times, rotate it around, and then we'll check it one more time. That's right at an inch, so I think we're good. Last thing we need to do is just tighten down those pinch bolts. There we go. All right, last step, just want to lube the chain because I did put on a new chain guide up here. Well, all right, guys, we've got it all buttoned up and ready to go. Well, listen, if you need any parts for your machine, why don't you come see us at Partzilla.com and we can get you taken care of. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you like what you see, why don't you hit that subscribe button? That way you can keep up with what I'm going to be doing next. So until then, we just want to say thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.